Thank you for joining us. This is the AltDev Student Summit. We are pleased to present Benjamin Cavallari, who's going to talk about essentials the team leads need to see in your work. If you look underneath the video you're watching just now, you'll see a link to ask questions, and you can also join in the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag #AltDevConf. So without further interruption, I'll turn it over to Benjamin to give you his presentation.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Luke. Just want to confirm that this is going through and you can hear me just fine?
Yep, it's all good.
Excellent, so much. Okay, thank you, and I want to actually officially thank you, Luke and Heather, of course. I met Luke out at IGDA in Seattle at Casual Connect, and we started talking before we knew it. Our paths were quite similar, and we started talking about this conference, and I was very excited when Heather actually invited me as well as Luke, so it's an honor to be here, and I greatly appreciate it. My background is quite diverse, quite different, as you would expect. The majority of people who are getting into the game industry, most of us older folks, and not that I'm too much older than the general population of people trying to get into the industry, but didn't have the same resources and tools and background and sort of career paths and educational sort of programs that majority of you have if you're in that student age bracket right now. So what happens is when you're presenting your work, oftentimes somebody in a hiring director's position or maybe a team lead's position, you say, oh, I've got a Bachelor of Science in game programming, game art, game animation. And that means very different things to very different people that never really had the opportunity to do so. Speak to somebody who's 30, 40 years old and they're in the game industry. They found their way into it from other industries, web development, graphic design, website maintenance, or shall I say e-commerce or platform services or whatever. So given that, you're naturally you're already kind of handicapped in a way by presenting your work, because you're showing, oh, I went through this program and these are the courses I took, this, that, and the other. Even if you choose to highlight that, it's not going to be necessarily familiar to everybody that's in the industry as of yet, or right now, shall I say. So I previously taught with game development faculty at Champlain College in Burlington, Vermont. It's a great school with a top 10 game programming there, and I highly recommend them. And after that, I went down and got a position at a studio outside of Boston in Turbine Studios. So it's a Warner Brothers studio in Needham. They make Lord of the Rings Online and Dungeons and Dragons Online. And I was working on product development, and it wasn't long before I drifted over and started to do university relations because of my familiarity with working with students and curriculum development and so on. I'm doing this talk today because I have found that a lot of students seem to have when they apply to positions, regardless of their qualifications for it, or it might be a lofty goal to try to go for a straight game designer position out of school. Oftentimes they have a very standard resume, portfolio, cover letter, and it's quickly becoming very normal to see demo reels and production pieces that look like everybody else that is in the group that you're graduating with. So the objective of this talk is to show you, what really turns on a lot of team leads and what can really get people to take attention to your resume, your cover letter, your application. Because if you think about it, as you're graduating, you're going to be in the same pool as, say, the 30 other people in your class or 50 other people in your graduating class, and then there's 100 other pools around the country of graduates at your level or people at your level trying to get a job. So the objective of this is to really showcase your skills, what you can do, and see how that how that works in the industry. So just briefly, I'm gonna pull up let's see, I'm gonna pull up like a website here. I hope you can see my page. I'm just gonna write Boston Post-Mortem Job Board. Okay, so say you're going and you're looking for a job position, and this in the greater Boston area, this is a great resource. You probably have yours in your cities as well, or your locations as well. And looking at a general job, or you want to full screen your view for this because the text is a little bit small. Wherever you are, let's go into QA, because that's probably going to be an area that you'll be able to get into right out of school. It's more often than not, it's a good bet to shoot for QA stuff. I'm just going to scroll down and take a look here. Most of these positions look quite similar. I know Demiurge Studios, they're right in Cambridge. That's where I'm located. And you look at the position and you see, what they're asking for. Right when you get to qualifications, you see excellent written and oral communication. Okay, I got that. Ability to work with deadlines, I can do that. Professional demeanor, I got that. Oh, passion for video games. Well, that's it right there. And people will, take that and run with it. And what's interesting is sometimes they really they really bring out their passion a little bit early. And what I mean by that is actually I'm going to bring that page back up and show you an interesting video right here. Here's a video I took at the Nerd Center in New England Research and Design, and I asked somebody, what do you look for with students that are just getting out of their programs? What's the best, features that you see? And a gentleman who, let's get back to my slides real quick here. Jamie Gotch from Summatomic Studios, took the helm and answered that, and this was what his answer was. Hope you can hear this.
We can't really hear that, Benjamin. Could you turn it up?
Okay, that's fine. If you can't really hear it, no problem. I'll just basically summarize what he says. He describes, he says, I look for somebody that has obvious passion. I know what passion is. It'd be surprising how many people that get out of school don't have passion for games, and he continues to repeat this word passion. And the reason why I put this video in is because that's quite a vague term. What does it exactly mean? And you see it in every application that you look at. Passion. Got to have passion for games. Well, oftentimes people will, they'll go right into describing, oh, I've been playing games since I was 12 years old or 10 years old. I've loved video games all my days. And I was sitting in on a panel at PAX East in April, and a panel that was about trying to get into the jobs industry, and repeatedly over and over the people that were up at the panel speaking, they were saying, I don't want to hear about the fact that you've been playing games since you were 12. I don't want to hear about the fact that you have a great passion for games. We're obviously all here because we have a great passion for games. And she was saying, so don't waste your time on the cover letter describing your great passion for video games, because that is assumed. And so the point of this slide is to say, when is the time where you get to really express your passion for the studio or the job that you're going for? And my recommendation is, and you might hear somebody that would kind of counter this point of mine, but my recommendation, based on the people I've spoken with, the hiring directors, the team leads, is to showcase your passion by showing that you develop games outside of your game program. You develop games on your own. You've actually tangibly done things that develop games, and aren't expecting that your degree or your college or somebody else is going to guide you through developing games. Make sure that your passion is best represented in tangible things that you've created. Show the assets. If you're a game designer, then every single thing that you look at when you're walking around outside is going to be designed in your head. You'll look and you'll see faulty design. You'll look over there and you'll say, oh, that design can be better. You'll always have this idea for a better quest, or a better level design, or a better piece of art, or a better asset, or a better rig, or a better way to manipulate objects in the game space. And you're going to be thinking about that all the time. Well, any ideas that you have on that, make sure to get them down on paper. Let's start showing if you have passion, then you better be doing this all the time. You are a game designer right now. And the same goes for game art. If you're an artist, then you should be creating art left, right, up, and down. And your portfolio should not just be what you have created in school. No matter how many great projects that you've done, your passion better be in you designing and creating games, or being a part of teams that are creating games, and working independent of your educational experience. So this slide here shows my suggestion is when you're trying to show your passion, you want to, on the right side, if you showcase things like, in my free time I design games, here's some links to them, I have various ideas how games can be designed differently. This is going to get the hiring director to notice that you are a cut above the rest of your, say, peers, and they're going to potentially send this transcript or this portfolio or this review over to the team lead. Now, it's the team leads, I would argue that, at least in the experiences that I've witnessed from some of the AAA industries and speaking with independent hiring directors and independent studio managers, it's the team leads that if they have an opening on their team, they're the ones who are going to hire you, because they're the ones who are going to see how you work and whether you would work well with their team, and if you've got the qualification, if you seem like somebody that's great to work with. But if you drop I've been playing games since I was 5 years old on your cover letter, you're not going to show the hiring director what it's going to take to shift your resume over to where the team lead is to take a look at it. He or she's going to try to boil your, the 100 letters that they're getting for each job down to 5 to hand over to the team lead, who's going to say, let's get these 3 people in here to interview. I see that the hiring director sent it over because you have the skills, and this is the time when you get to go in there and sit down with a team lead for an interview, or whomever is going to interview. That's when you can bust out the, yeah, I've loved, this studio since I was, for 4 years I've been following the development of this game, and I really love the prequel to this, and I'm psyched about your sequel. I've been doing this since I was X, Y, and Z. My inspirations for game development are A, B, and C, and that's where you're going to get the connection to the teams that you're going to work on. So my point before I move on is, don't drop the I've been wanting to do this since I was 5 right in the cover letter. Get your tangible skills out first, and that will get you into the 45-minute interview that you'll be able to discuss and connect with the person. Okay. Another tip that I have, a recommendation I have to set yourself apart from the peers that you are that you're applying with for any open positions is the fact that this is an extremely visual medium, and you must physically show your work, whether you're a designer, a programmer, artist, marketer, community manager, customer relations, or whatever. You need to show your work through portfolio pieces, and this probably is old. You've probably heard this before, but the reason why I mention this is because no matter what part of a project you've been on, there can be you can physically show it. I mean, when a hiring director is dealing with hundreds of applications, he or she is going to get this resume in, and right on the cover letter there can be links to your website. Your portfolio better be fresh always on your own website, showcasing your work, the projects you've worked on, and the roles that you had in those. And in your cover letter / resume, the links to that website and to those portfolio pieces should be right there. So I've got here, include links to all of these in your letters that you send to the hiring director, because if he or she even does read your entire resume or cover letter, if there's a link, he or she's going to click on it quick as a wink and get right down to the meat and potatoes of what you can do and cannot do as they're filing through these hundreds of applications. And if it's very visual and it's right there, it's gonna encourage them to continue to look at your work and then potentially send it on to the team lead. Moving on, another something that I would recommend, and you've probably heard this before, is obviously you're going to build a demo reel that showcases your latest and greatest work. That's great. Highly recommended to, and you've probably heard this before in this conference or from other people, build a demo reel for the company. And some people say, oh, damn, I just took 2 weeks to a month to build this demo reel. It's a 3-minute video of all of my work. It's really the one demo reel that I have. Well, I would encourage and challenge you to create a demo reel for every company that you're applying for, specific to the type of games that they create. So research the company, find projects in development that they're on, tailor parts of your submission to that subject matter. Create a living, breathing representation of your best work. And as soon as you're done with your demo version 1.0, start on 2.0. That was a quote from a gentleman, Chad Moore, who's an art director at Turbine. And he said that right to this class we were at down at New England Institute of Technology. As soon as you're done with your demo version, and you've submitted, you better start working on your next one. So another point that is oftentimes made by team leads are to say, I would rather see good fundamentals than see somebody showcase 40 hours of work on one specific tool in one specific program that they've used and they've mastered. Yes, that's great that you have a passion, that you've gotten so deep into a program that you understand it so well, and you've created awesome, shall I say, shading or lighting effects because of this one great tool in Maya or ZBrush or whatnot. But more fundamental and more important is the fact that you probably have the universality through good fundamentals, strong fundamentals, to be able to jump from program to program, and you're well-rounded enough to be able to do multiple things that you've never seen before. If you are somebody who has spent all their time on one art program, then you may not be as versatile as they need you to be. The company will teach you their complex techniques and programs. Don't get lost in learning all the advanced techniques. Show your strongest skills and present them in a very consistent manner. Keep it simple and strong has been repeated to me over and over and over in regards to what to tell my students. Now, a lot of students or a lot of people that are trying to get into the industry, no matter where you're from, you have previous work experience. You may not think so. You might say, well, gee, I'm only 23 years old, or I'm only 24 years old. I've basically done college, maybe some grad school, or maybe some part-time jobs. All I've tried to do is this game major, and this is what I have. I would beg to differ and encourage you to look back into your previous work experience, because people understand and respect the age that you're at, and the fact that you're between 20 and 25 or whatever it is, or that you're coming from another industry and trying to break in. Therefore, there are some skills that you have that are that are going to be, quite versatile and useful in this professional environment. Okay, this is a business like many others, and so if you have qualifications like website experience, graphic design experience, business responsibilities, I don't care if you were a clerk at CVS and you did the night shift, that brings with it a great amount of responsibility, and you then have to showcase that you are professional, you are trusted with, shall I say, budgets and monies and responsibility of the tellers and closing up shop, and you are the night manager or something. Those are tangible business experiences. They're going to show your aptitude and capabilities in a professional environment. So I would really encourage you to think about the things that you've done and try to definitely align them towards, shall we say, granted you might be going for a game design position, and what does my position at CVS have to do with that? Well, that's better to showcase that you were given lots of responsibility, you managed and were asked to come back the second or third summer that you worked there, than to not have any sort of work experience on your resume. Okay, again, most people that are going to be looking at your resume will respect where you are right now in position of school and or summertime jobs and whatnot, and that you're trying to show that you can get in. Little things like this could set you apart from your peer. Sorry about these text-heavy slides, but there are some quotes that I want to show. I'm going to get to a couple quotes right here, but before I do, another thing that a lot of developers have expressed significantly is, instead of just some pretty demo fly-through of some, shall I say, some Venice cityscape with some flowing water and it's flying through the buildings with some nice music behind it, they say, that's all great that you can make a 3-minute video of some three-dimensional environment that you created, but what works better for us is iterations, showing us iterations and problem solving over time. Give me a 2-minute YouTube video showing this rigging problem that you had, and you as the designer had to figure out how the model was supposed to work, and the programmers did one thing, the designers did another, and the artist gave you a third thing, and you actually had to problem solve and make it work. That is going to be just, if not more valuable, for a team lead to hear your thought process, understand how you went through fixing it, show the timeline and how long it took for you to get through this problem, than just some beautiful demo reel that everybody else is going to be passing in as well. Everyone's going to be showing their best work, and that's going to be a part of your resume. But if you actually also show like a problem iteration cycle or a timeline or your position in the group, that is going to make them have to listen to how you work through it. They're going to connect your voice to the work that you're showing, which is another way to connect to the individuals. They're going to be listening to the way that you work through it. You're in that case, you're going to be showing strong fundamentals, or maybe even some specific program you used, a really far-off function that no one usually does, but you knew it, so that's pretty impressive, but also strong fundamentals to begin with. And any sort of narrative over it is going to be able to think about it this way. If a picture is worth 1,000 words and then a video is worth, shall I say, 1,000,000 words, a video with your voiceover is like 10 million words, because it's not only what they're looking at visually, but they're hearing you do it as well. You're engaging them in multiple senses, and you're really describing what it's like to work with you. One of the things that leads don't want to see in your portfolio is nothing but text, like this ugly slide right now, or a very standard demo reel with no timeline whatsoever. You give me a 3-minute video that showcases your senior project, that's great. I don't know if that took you 16 weeks to create. I don't know if someone else created it for you. I don't know if it's 4 weeks, if that's something you can bang out because you need some rough prototyping stuff for the studio that's thinking about going down this path with the storyline of the game that you're working on. Whatever the case is, we need to definitely see timelines and understand how long it took you to make that. No explanations or thought processes. Again, everyone's going to be passing in beautiful demo reels, and you will as well. But if you also have other things to explain how it got done, that's very, very valuable. Discussion on the evolution of the piece, your problem-solving skills, and team dynamics, team members, or the timing of the project. Here's a couple quotes. I'm going to fly right through these because I've got 10 minutes left. Here's one real quick. I love, love, love designers who design on their own time. In design, this should be a calling, not just a job for my ideal candidate. This means that a person will have tinkered with other tools and scripting languages beyond any schoolwork they might have. That speaks to the whole, don't think that your degree is going to just hand you a job. Because, again, these people probably didn't go through school to get where they are. They had to bust their asses and really motivate themselves and find creative ways to get in, and are now recognizing that the people that are very so passionate about what they do are going to find ways to get it just like they did. The second quote here is from Turbine, or a member of the art program at Turbine. I'm a big fan of people having real-world experience as something that will give them perspective on what a privilege it is to work in the industry. I'm wary of any 22-year-old kids who haven't ever held a job or feel a degree equates to some sort of entitlement. You're going to hear that a lot. It's kind of common for a lot of developers to think, well, yeah, okay, that's great. You went to this school, but so did everybody else. How are you different? When we're hiring folks right out of college as a programmer, we're typically looking for experiences in schools that match the discipline that we're hiring for. For most of the jobs, means C++. And then, of course, down on the bottom, this actually is a quote from Reddit. When I read over applicants' CVs, 80% of them haven't even touched a computer program outside of the university, and the 15% barely have the skills to put together Space Invaders. They seem to think that because they went to university, blah, blah, blah. So you have that repeated pattern of, okay, just because you went through school, I don't really see the programmer in you. I don't see the coder or designer in you, because you would have you would have probably been doing it before college in some facet or another, or during college when you're not in class. And a couple of other tips that I've received from friends that talk to me before I go and speak with students. They say, what's really effective, what really shows us that these people want to be in the games industry is when they shape their portfolio resume, for my company, okay, or I see these people literally taking mods and using all the game development communities and programs and resources online, and they're actually creating stuff with it. And they're going from that. I'm actually seeing it. They're doing it. Making projects for games that currently exist, especially for mods that those you wish to work on. Let's take Turbine, Warner Brothers' studio in Boston, for example. They make fantasy MMOs, large persistent worlds based in the fantasy genre. If you want to work for this company, it may behoove you to, and you're an artist, a 3D artist, to maybe mock up some, armor, because that Turbine has basically released Riders of Rohan, so they're about halfway through the development of Middle-earth, and that Gondor's got to come up soon. That Shelob's Cave's coming up. That, you're going to get to Barad-dûr soon. So why don't you start to develop and create assets for where the company is going? And then you get to present it and say, hey, I know you guys are going to have to show, the seven-layered city soon. Here are some depictions of what I think the Gondorian army is going to look like. I've thought about Pelennor Fields already. I've thought about the Dead Army. Here are some pictures of what's going on. The point is to research the company and get and start to create and show that you want to work with them so badly. Now, some people might say, yeah, if they're only creating for our company, I'm not sure if they're doing that just to appease us or to be different. Well, I would think that majority, if you were to show that you were actively thinking about the programs and productions that they're working on and writing for them and working for them and working towards them, and that you're on the same page as them, I believe that would be more of a strength than a weakness. But you're going to get a little bit of a different opinion on that depending on who you speak with. Apply regardless of any technical constraints, or shall I say experience constraints you see. It is not a waste of time to apply for a position. Oh no, I've only got 3 years of game development, or working on mods or whatnot. It's asking for 5. Apply anyway. I mean, just go for it. It's great practice, because it really is essential for you to be looking over and constantly reviewing your work, and basically always thinking about how to pitch your work and showcase your skills, regardless of what you think your experience level is. When you make your games, and this is huge, make games. The number one quote that people give to me, any developers or any studio heads, is they just have to be making games. You don't have to be in a studio to make games, okay? I don't care if you just make Space Invaders. Make it, get it out there, get it out, get some feedback on it, get some critique on it, and know what the complete production cycle is to getting a game out the door and into an arena for people to play it and get feedback onto, because having that knowledge of what it really takes to make it is massive. It's really very, very significant. As already been mentioned, for example, Andrea just prior to me, she mentioned in her talk, the great resources that are on Reddit. That really pings to what I would like to state as well, and I'm just going to real quickly bring this over here. So interestingly enough, the Reddit community is massive, and she was mentioning about the indie games development. Well, right here you see this is Game Dev Classifieds on Reddit, and if you're saying like, well, how am I supposed to find a team, or what am I supposed to do? Actually, I'll jump over here. Here's an example of people that, as some of you are probably familiar with, Amnesia, Dark Descent, and most of the students are when I go to and give a talk and I say, hey, has anybody ever heard of Amnesia? Most of the heads go up and down. Yeah. They did an AMA on Reddit sometime last year, over a year ago, and the 5th question down, it's called Ask Us Anything. So if you're not familiar, you get to write in and ask them everything, and they present it, and they answer in real time, if you will. And about 5 questions down, one of the questions is, do you guys ever sit around the office and watch YouTube videos of people freaking out over your game? I mean, I've done that, so yeah, wow, great question. And I look down and see it says, we might, if we had a common office, the entire team has only actually met once. So that there is testament. If you haven't, figured this out yet, that's testament to the fact that you don't need to physically be in the same studio, and to be making. I mean, I'm in Cambridge right now. Luke's over in Scotland, and we're all talking on the same screen right now. So you don't need to physically be in the same space to make games, and these guys are testament to that. And it's a beautiful thing. And if you say, wow, where are all these resources? Well, Game Dev Classifieds on Reddit is another great one. Look at that. Looking for a programmer for a Facebook game that happens to be a paid position. Looking for an artist, a 2D pixel art. I'm a musician, royalty free. Here's some of my materials. I'm a 2D artist looking for work. We're looking for an artist. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. So if you're feeling a little stale, like the people around you aren't, no one's chomping at the bit to make a game outside of the classroom, or you're somewhere in eastern Idaho and you've got no friends around you that are making games with you, jump online, find a team, pitch it to them, and make it happen, because this on top of your portfolio is going to be even more significant than your academic resume, because it shows that you are a cut above the rest of the folks that are you're graduating with. And let me just check the time here. Okay, I've got about 3 minutes left here. I'm just going to say, here's an example, and I know my former student Connor, he's a good friend of mine. He's going to smack me for doing this because I keep showcasing his website, but I'm grateful that he hasn't changed it since he graduated last April. Now, the reason why I show this, if you just Google Connor Norman, game designer, you'll find his website, and this is a great example of something that was done, that was created while he was a student, and it really showcases all the things that while you're working on your educational portfolio, you can also be creating games. And he created this completely online, this great game called Burning Heaven, and he went to the free space mod scene, got in, and created a great game. And if you go to the demo reel, I highly encourage you to watch, excuse me, actually it's back here. I'm just going to back up real quick. Right here, Burning Heaven, you go to the Burning Heaven page, and right there, sorry. And on the right, you have a design walkthrough of the video right here on the right, announcement trailer, launch trailer, gameplay footage. All of this was created as by a game designer who went online and found artists and programmers to help him complete the project. So Connor's a great guy. He's very, very smart and very, very capable. But I will say, if he can do it, so can you. And here's a great example of a student. This is his student work. This was what he created by the end of his college career. And I highly encourage anybody else to also, take a look at that. Take a look at that as a successful portfolio, online resume, and just see, how he did it. And don't be scared to jump out there and try to create games, even if you're only a junior in college. He did this between his junior and senior year, and I did some of the voice work on it, so I did get to see a lot of the production, how he did it, how he reached out to the community, and basically all the resources that were there. Now, if I had more time, I'd get into a different level of discussion about some of the things you can do if you don't get into the game industry immediately off. I was going to give a short talk, but I'm running out of time. That would say, grab some sort of game function or game mechanic that really turns you on about some game that you're playing, and apply that to some business somewhere, and walk let me back up. Just present that game mechanic, because everything in the world is being gamified these days. Gamification is a term that is being, it's like a $10 word. It's being passed around everywhere, and everyone's trying to get on the bandwagon with gamifying different principles. But there's a reason why games are so successful. They're very addictive, and people are taking the principles in games and applying it to business and really trying to get ahead by using game tactics. So if you think a little differently about this and you apply game techniques to things that are outside of games, that could also be a way for you to get in. This slide was just basically to show, you think you're in school for game programming, game design, or game art. Well, there are hundreds of different types of jobs that are required at different studios. So think about different ways that you can get in, and it's not just going to be your standard, I want to be a game designer, I'm going to be a game artist. Well, go ahead, in the artist, 2D, what type of art? 2D, 3D, animation, world animator? If you're going to be a designer, there's a lot of different ways to get in. Become versatile. Look at the ways that other people got in, and follow what is probably some ingenuitive and unique way that they actually did have to get in. And I see I got about a minute left, and I just want to say thank you so much. I'm sorry it was so rushed, but I'd be more than happy to send this slideshow to anybody so you can look at it more closely than just me flashing through it on the YouTube video. And I'd be more than happy to speak with anybody. And if you want to pass in some materials, I would be more than happy to look over it and put you in contact with some people that can review your portfolio and review some of your materials. And I just want to say thanks so much to Luke and and Heather. So I guess that's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Benjamin. We don't have time for questions and answers, unfortunately. So I would encourage anybody who has questions to connect with Benjamin directly. Thank you very much. We have already started the next session one of the sessions that we were going to run is running now. We're about to start the other one, which is Jury Horniman. Please refresh the page, and we'll see you in a second.